There we go. So as we begin, I want to invite us all into a moment of silence, gathering together as a group. I invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes. And together we're going to take a long, slow, deep breath in. A relaxing exhale. And for a few moments, let's just pause. Shasta Interfaith in Redding, California. We do this process at the commencement of our meetings, and we remember the reason that we gather. We gather to develop relationships, build understanding, promote advocacy, collaboration, respect, to support diversity of faith, as well as diversity in all its expressions. That is why we come together today. So one more deep breath in. A relaxing exhale again. I invite you to open your eyes, and we are here at the Center for Spiritual Living is hosting this, along with Shasta County Citizens Advocating Respect. They are a nonprofit organization that is here in Shasta County that works to promote social justice and equal opportunities for all people. They're here providing the Zoom for us today. I want to welcome you all. My name is Lynn Fritz. I am a minister ordained through the Centers for Spiritual Living, but I'm also a Native American spiritual practitioner. My mother is Swedish. My dad is Hupa and Kuruk. I'm a Kuruk enrolled tribal descendant. And spiritual practice in Native culture is my primary focus. I want to introduce us today to Shasta Interfaith. It began in 1993 and continues to grow and expand beyond Shasta County. Shasta County is located in the northern tip of the San Joaquin Valley, for those of you that are not familiar with it. Oftentimes, media and individuals refer to Northern California and people think of Sacramento or San Francisco. We are 3 hours north of Sacramento. We are 1 hour south of Mount Shasta, 2 hours to the Oregon border. We're south of that. So we are definitely Northern California. According to the 2020 census, about 182,000 people live in the county. And it is known, Shasta County is known as the houseboat capital of the world, or at least of the nation. And that's because Shasta Lake is here. We have many beautiful lakes here, Trinity Lake, Whiskey Town, Shasta Lake, beautiful mountains. We're home of the Sundial Bridge in Redding, California. And unfortunately, there's been a shift in the last couple of years with COVID, because Shasta County has been featured frequently in the headlines of national newspapers that deal with issues that are present here in Shasta County. We've been featured in the Los Angeles Times, the Washington Post, San Francisco, the Guardian, a number of national newspapers, as well as, of course, local. In the past year, a conservative Republican was recalled by special interest groups. Members of the extreme right, including members of the local militia, worked to have that person recalled. And our county governmental meetings have become aggressive with verbal threats and demoralizing accusations towards elected officials and county staff members. It's been very disturbing. It's good for us to remember, however, that diversity is present in the region of the North Valley. Many people don't recognize it that live here because of the isolation of the different groups. I want to acquaint our viewers today with some of the diversity that's present in our region. And we'll begin talking about the indigenous people that the original people from this region. So we're going to go to a PowerPoint presentation. Standing by. Oh, good. So that's a beautiful Mount Shasta. And as I mentioned previously, we're an hour south. And we have a video, about a 17-minute video that we'll show later in the program from people in that region, the faith leaders in that region who have become associated with us. The indigenous groups, there's a number of them in Northern California. In our area, the Wintu are very prevalent. We also have, you see where it says, looks like K-Rock, that's my tribal group. And Hupa, that's my tribal group. And then my other tribal group is my mother's Swedish heritage. Some of the tribes, I'm going to feature a photo just so they can acquaint you with some of their traditional attire, their regalia that they use in ceremony. Elk Valley Rancheria is in Crescent City, California, in Del Norte County, very northern county that comes up against the Oregon border along the coast. The Tolowa Smith River people, they're also up there by Crescent City, north of Crescent City, almost to the Oregon border. The Wiyot tribe is near Lolita or Eureka, California, situated in the beautiful Redwood coastal area. Notice how the attire, there are some similarities, but every community is very unique for its language, its traditions, its dialect. Each of them are unique. It's good to remember there are about 109 tribes in California. Those are federally recognized tribes, but there are a huge portion of communities that are not federally recognized that are working to get recognition. This is the Yurok tribe of Klamath, California. One of the events they do every year is the Salmon Festival, that is an extraordinary event in August. All these communities offer ceremonies of renewal, of healing, of what we might refer to as atonement. The Kuruk tribe of Happy Camp is where I have the ancestry and where I'm enrolled as a tribal descendant. Please be sure and mute yourself, Flora. Thank you. Notice some similarities with the attire. The Wintu tribe, Redding, Mount Shasta area, there are 8 communities from the Oregon border to Sacramento. Their attire will be very diverse. The gentleman that you see on the left side of the screen, he is offering what is known as the Prairie Chicken Sacred Dance. That was one of our interfaith group meetings for the public. Now I want to introduce you to the Tibetan community that is about an hour and 15 minutes west of Redding. The indigenous people that I previously shared with you, as well as this Gampa, and the next presentation I'm doing on Bethel Church, they are not members of the interfaith, Shasta Interfaith, but they are very prevalent in our region, so I wanted to have you know about their presence. The Chudda Gampa Foundation started in 1983. It's located in Junction City, California. And their teachings and retreats are from the Tibetan tradition. And Rigzing is the home, that's the name of the facility there that you see. Has a number of prayer wheels. Look at the beautiful prayer wheels. You can drive up anytime, and these are mechanical prayer wheels that have prayers, Buddhist prayers on them. And they run 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, sending prayers throughout the world. You notice at the very bottom, some darker imagery there. Those are the hand prayer wheels that you can walk by and move yourself. Then you see the close-up of the prayer wheel cylinder. Are they not beautiful? Very, very beautiful. Then they have the fountain stupas that are off to the side, a little further north of where the prayer wheels are. You can visit these anytime between 8 and 5, Monday through Friday. It's a beautiful setting, remarkable when you think of the beauty of the Trinity Mountains in the background. Aren't those stupas and flags amazing? They hold retreats. They are also known as a catalog where people order Tibetan clothing and sacred items and books from Tibetan treasures. Padma Publishing is also one of the business that they do operate as well from this facility. Kind of a close-up of the stupa so you can see it. Aren't they beautiful? Look at the beautiful trees in the background. It's remarkable. I wanted to highlight Bethel Church that is here in Redding, California. It's an American non-denominational called a neo-charismatic megachurch with over 11,000 members. Their stated mission is revival of the personal, regional, and global expansion of God's kingdom through the manifest presence of God. They describe themselves as dedicated to worldwide transformation through revival. They're probably best known for their school of ministry, their school of supernatural ministry, Bethel music, and various businesses in North State. Through the COVID timeframe, they became extremely controversial in our area and region. Here you see an image of a magazine article that featured Shasta Interfaith, highlighting the work that we do. Top left image is of a Jewish gentleman. Then you see off to the right of that, a Sikh, Christian, and Islamic. All those people are good friends through our relationship with the interfaith. You'll see an image of me offering a smudge, a traditional Native American spiritual practice. Another image of Reverend Ann Muir, who has since retired. And then Armajit Singh from the Sikh Center in Redding. What I think I've personally felt amazed by this interfaith group is the diversity of the people gathered, but also how we make room for our differences and hold respect for those differences. So Native American spiritual practice is part of the Shasta Interfaith. That's myself there offering the smudge. And off on the left is Rod Lindsay playing Native American flute. I have several flute players that practice with me during the ceremony. And I wanted to highlight Rod. He passed on a couple years ago, but was a member of the interfaith for many, many years. This is All Saints Episcopal Church, outside shot as well as an inside image of it as well. Before we move on, I'm going to give you a list of all the members because I don't have photos for everyone here. So we have All Saints Episcopal Church, the Center for Spiritual Living, First Christian Church Disciples of Christ, First Church of Christ Scientist, First United Methodist Church, Islamic Center of Redding, the Native American traditions that I mentioned previously, Our Lady of Mercy Catholic Church, Pilgrim Congregation, United Church of Christ, Redding Friends Meeting, our Quakers, Redding Zen Buddhist Priory, River Oak Sangha, which is also from the Buddhist tradition, Sacred Heart Catholic Church, Shasta Lake Community United Methodist Church, the Sikh Center Anderson, St. James Lutheran, St. Joseph Catholic Church, Temple Beth Israel in Redding, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Unitarian Universalist, and Unity Church in Redding. A lot of different diversity. Sometimes people will, if you're just tuning in, please make sure you're muted. Many people think of in our areas diversity as diverse Christian traditions versus true interfaith diversity. Our associates that participate with us is AW Tozer Seminary, Beloved Community of Shasta, Books That Cross Borders, Local Indians for Education, and Shasta Trinity Tehama HIV Food Bank. Let's go on with our images. This is Center for Spiritual Living, which is part of the New Thought tradition. That's where we're hosted today. First United Methodist Church in the heart of Reading holds many community gatherings. St. Joseph Catholic Church, they host, we have alternating years between St. Joseph Catholic Church and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Chapel and First United Methodist for our annual Thanksgiving service. Our Catholic brothers and sisters are big on ritual, one of the things that I love about visiting them. Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Anderson, about 15 minutes south of Reading. This Temple Beth Israel in ritual together. Our Jewish brothers and sisters. Recently, we've had some unfortunate individuals in our community trying to distribute and successfully going around to homes with anti-Semitic literature. So us as a group are issuing a statement to media and local government that we are in support of our Jewish brothers and sisters and of all diversity. That will come out this week. This is the Islamic Center of Reading. Abu Abur Salhuddin is there on the left. That's the center pictured there. I had the pleasure of enjoying the Ramadan celebration this year and delicious food for the women from that center. This is the Reading Friends, our Quakers. They meet regularly and have been active for many, many years and have been part of the Shasta Interfaith. Pilgrim Congregational United Church of Christ. It's a Frank Lloyd Wright building. It's a beautiful structure. This is the Sikh Center in Anderson. There are 2 Sikh centers in Anderson. This is the Sikh Center that participates with us. They offer a number of festivals throughout the year. Of course, we all took breaks during COVID, but May 2023, we expect to have the Vaisakhi Festival, which is honoring one of their gurus, but incorporating the teachings of nonviolence and peace. First Christian Church Disciples of Christ, they host our monthly meetings. They're here in Reading. First Church of Christ Scientist in Reading. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they're one of the locations where our Thanksgiving Interfaith service is held. We also work with governmental officials. CEO on the right of Shasta County, then CEO Larry Lees. On the left was Christian Schrader, the mayor of Reading. Here we're honoring those who have passed and were impacted by the car fire that happened in 2018 in Shasta County. We do a number of different interfaith prayer circles. This particular circle was held just before the presentation of the Thanksgiving Interfaith service. We also have offered prayer circle outside of the Shasta County Board of Supervisors meeting, setting a consciousness for peace and respect for those meetings. We also did a New Zealand vigil for the attack on the Muslims. Gathered some resources, monetary resources, and sent it to them. Very inspiring work from our community to come together in vigils. Some of the vigils we've done in the recent past: car fire, wildfire impact, the Sikh Center Anderson vandalism, the Sikh murders that were happening across the nation. We met on the Sundial Bridge, about 200 people in about 12 hours gathered. And then we had the cross burning in Anderson that the interfaith group set up a march. And then we had a nonviolence march on the Sundial Bridge. There's other things that we've done as well. So that gives you an idea of the things we've been involved in. These are other practices by Shasta Interfaith, the diversity of prayers, a drum circle. I offer that drum circle every so often. That labyrinth that we are positioned on there is behind the Center for Spiritual Living, open to the public 24/7. Sikh chanting. We love our Sikh brothers and sisters and their chanting they offer to us with tabla and harmonium. Beautiful, beautiful chanting. We also do special honorings. In this image here, the retirement of one of our spiritual leaders, honoring her with her community. The annual Thanksgiving service. Here we are at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Chapel. Different images from that center. Here is the St. Joseph's Catholic Church for the annual Thanksgiving service. We also include an interfaith choir. And in that interfaith choir, not only can our faith community members participate, but we invite community members to come in as well. Sometimes it's the way that you build relationship and bridges is by music. Here's another image of the interfaith choir. We love our interfaith choir. And that's at one of the Thanksgiving interfaith services, group photo from the spiritual leaders at the St. Joseph Catholic Church. We support diversity, and our goal is to build understanding. We think that our strength is our diversity, learning from each other, learning to accept people that are different than ourselves. We're going to play a 17-minute video from Mount Shasta, California, the faith leaders from that area. They put this together for this presentation. And they are an hour north of us. A couple of their members participate in our Shasta Interfaith. We've also have someone in Trinity County. Mount Shasta is in Siskiyou County. And so we intend to continue to expand. So let's go to that video. Now we'll try to get it to play. Did this before. Nope, that's not it.
There's an arrow right in between the 10 and the 30 in the middle underneath the mountain.
Oh, we can't see it. That's the problem.
Okay.
Do we have sound?
Right there. You were just there.
Yeah.
See?
It's playing.
No sound yet.
There's no sound at the beginning.
Oh, there's no sound at the beginning. It'll come on. Ugh. Did we lose it? Still going.
Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to me. May no difficulties come to me. May no problems come to me. May I always meet with success. May I also have patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. May my parents, my friends, my teacher, my neighbors, those to whom I feel neutral, adversaries, and all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May no problems come to them. May they always meet with success. May they also have patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha.
checking some technical things here for a moment. Are you guys hearing sound?
And your microphone was low just now too.
Hang on just a second.
Peace Prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi.
Can you hear that?
Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
From Baha'u'llah, founder of the Baha'i faith. Consort with the followers of all religions in a spirit of friendliness and fellowship. Whatsoever hath led the children of men to shun one another, and hath caused dissensions and divisions amongst them, hath, through the revelation of these words, been nullified and abolished.
Strive that your actions day by day may be beautiful prayers. Turn towards God and seek always to do that which is right and noble, and enrich the poor, raise the fallen, comfort the sorrowful, bring healing to the sick, reassure the fearful, rescue the oppressed, bring hope to the hopeless, shelter the destitute. Strive that your actions day by day may be beautiful prayers. Turn towards God and seek always to do that which is right and noble, enrich the poor, raise the fallen, comfort the sorrowful, bring healing to the sick, reassure the fearful, rescue the oppressed, bring hope to the hopeless, shelter the destitute. Strive that your actions day by day may be beautiful prayers. Turn towards God and seek always to do that which is right and noble, enrich the poor, raise the fallen, comfort the sorrowful, bring healing to the sick, reassure the fearful, rescue the oppressed, bring hope to the
The people of St. Barnabas Church have had a deep concern for the welfare of the people of Ukraine ever since the beginning of the invasion over a month ago. Part of our concern was expressed through this art piece created by local artist Michaela Weston, a member of our congregation. And although it's hard to see, the paper that she used is a collage of prayers written by the congregation for peace and safety in Ukraine. This stands next to our altar throughout all of our services, and at the close of each Eucharist, we offer this prayer, which was composed by the Archbishops of Canterbury and York. God of peace and justice, we pray for the people of Ukraine today. We pray for peace and the laying down of weapons. We pray for all those who fear for tomorrow, that your spirit of comfort would draw near to them. We pray for those with power over war or peace, that wisdom, discernment, and compassion would guide all their decisions. Above all, we pray for all your precious children at risk and in fear, that you would hold and protect them. We pray in the name of Jesus, the Prince of Peace. Amen.
Now we have mute off. Let me introduce to you Reverend Megan Owens. She is the pastor at Pilgrim Congregational United Church of Christ. They have the beautiful Frank Lloyd Wright building I was showing. Can't hear?
Can you hear?
It's low.
It's low.
Low.
Let me,
Let's get it up there.
oh, it's all.
And that was awesome.
It's about- Thank you.
So
Guys
did you hear
made
me
it for
say-
us.
That's okay.
Did you hear me say this is Reverend Megan Owens from Pilgrim? They cannot hear.
Can you hear me?
Wait a second. Can you hear? Yes, no?
It's just very low.
Has to do with the video, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Shut up.
would take share sound, yeah, and don't de-optimize. No, I would unclick that.
Unclick the blue one.
I would unclick this. Oh, yeah. Got it.
Almost.
And then just exit out. Is that better?
Is that better?
No?
What is going on? You can hear me at the beginning easily, right?
So,
I can hear, it's just low. Can you guys hear? It's just low. I can't hear.
you are loud. We are, I think
Something's going
it's,
on here.
we got, yeah, right there. That's our speakers though.
That's speakers, it's not.
I am not sure what we have with output.
Get rid of that.
Better?
Better?
No, it's gonna have to do with the output of the audio. If you go to the,
Do you know where to go?
we did test that. You tested that?
Mhm.
I believe you.
Is the computer volume all the way to 100%?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't have problems before, did you?
Did you have problems hearing her before the video?
Yeah, the videos.
So should
Do
we?
you want to?
In at the mute button on the bottom, if you click on the arrow,
Right. So, yeah, we have
it's set to your computer now.
speaker.
Microphone, speaker, microphones.
How about that? Is that better?
Yes, yes,
got it.
that's
Yeah.
it. Excellent.
I was looking, okay.
So we have here Reverend Megan Owens. Sorry for the technical stuff, you guys. She's from the Pilgrim Congregational United Church of Christ. And she's going to share with us about their tradition and their involvement in interfaith and their perspective.
Okay, so the United Church of Christ follows the teachings of Jesus Christ. Our sacred text is, I should say, greetings. I am Reverend Megan Owens, also known as Pastor Megan and Rev Mo, and I have been the pastor at the Pilgrim United Church of Christ since April 1st. We are a U.S. liberal denomination. That's one way of looking at it. But we follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. Our sacred text is the Bible, but we do have an idiom that we take the Bible seriously and not literally. The United Church of Christ was born of a merger between two denominations with similar theologies, the Evangelical and Reformed and the Congregational Christian denominations in the United States in the mid-20th century. They both had their roots in what you would call the Calvinist Reformation, not Lutheran, not the split of the Church of England from the Catholic Church. The Reformation, the Evangelical Reformed churches have roots in Germany, and the Congregation Christian churches have roots in the Congregational movement of England and in the United States through early colonizers that we call the Pilgrims and other Congregationalists that settled relatively early here. The Pilgrims were a sect of these Congregationalists, some of whom were called Puritans. This merger represented a desire that they may all be one, which was an early catchphrase of the denomination. Within the denomination, member churches are in covenant relationship with the denominational structure, meaning that we do have a national structure with a synod every 4 years where we pass resolutions, but they are not binding. And any change to the bylaws of the denomination has to be ratified by the churches, in the different conferences or regions. There is a statement of faith written using the structure of traditional Christian creeds. However, the UCC was specifically created to be a non-dogmatic denomination, meaning that one does not have to profess a creed or a certain personal belief to belong to a UCC church. It is a church, however, so most people have some connection with the teachings of Christ. The churches have autonomy, a great deal of autonomy, because due to the congregational history, the church is the focus of ministerial life. The United Church of Christ in the United States is known for being on the cutting edge of social issues, full inclusion of women, LGBTQIA+ folks, anti-racist work, ecological responsibility, and many other issues that are socially pertinent, such as labor rights. Pilgrim Congregational United Church of Christ aligns with these values, and Pilgrim has chosen to align with the values of what is called progressive Christianity. We call ourselves progressive pilgrims, and that means that we believe that following the path and teachings of Jesus can lead to an awareness and experience of the sacred and the oneness and unity of all life. We affirm that the teachings of Jesus provide but one of many ways to experience the sacredness and oneness of life, and that we can draw from diverse sources of wisdom on our spiritual journey. We seek community that is inclusive of all people, including but not limited to conventional Christians and questioning skeptics, believers and agnostics, women, men, and all gender identities and sexual orientations, those of all classes and abilities. We know that the way we behave towards one another is the fullest expression of what we believe. We find grace in the search for understanding and believe there is more value in questioning than in absolutes. We strive for peace and justice among all people. We strive to protect and restore the integrity of the earth. We commit to a path of lifelong learning, compassion, and selfless love. So the United Church of Christ is a U.S. American denomination, but the congregational tradition has adherents all over the world, particularly in the UK, Europe, and places where Calvinist Christianity expanded through colonialism. The UCC also has affiliation with the United Church of Canada, meaning that ministers of these denominations respectively may be employed in each other's churches. The United Church of Christ also has a robust, what we call global missions program that includes partnerships with similar denominations and social service organizations around the world, many of whom are not Protestant or even Christian, but are locally based organizations focusing on healthcare and education and other needs as defined by the places where they exist, as opposed to an agenda that we would bring to them. Pilgrim UCC has been active in Shasta Interfaith, I think, since its inception. I'm not sure, you could maybe speak to that, Lynn?
About 95. It wasn't at the initial inception, but very close.
And that's because we align with the UCC value of interfaith work and collaboration. One of the core belief systems is that we are all created in the image of God. Much of the work of the UCC centers around listening, interfaith work of the UCC centers around listening, learning about Christian supersessionism and working to correct it, collaborating with other faiths in disaster relief, peace work, relief work, and in fostering mutual understanding and respect. We see the Shasta Interfaith as an important organization in our community. As I said, we've been active in Shasta Interfaith for many years and have been at the forefront of many of the collaborations, discussions, and organized events that happen through Shasta Interfaith. We are enriched through participation with Shasta Interfaith and believe that we learn from different perspectives and faith traditions. The impact that we make on our community is expanded when we work together toward common goals while honoring our differences. So I have a short ritual that I'm going to do. Yeah. Yeah. So I have the candles. Okay. And let's see if I can bring the candles more. Are they in focus? Yeah. Okay. In Christian tradition, can you hear? In Christian tradition, a candle is lit to welcome the Holy One, to set aside ritual time devoted to contemplation of God. We honor setting sacred space. The foundations of Christian tradition were as broad as the cultural interpretations of the teachings, miracles, death, and resurrection stories of Jesus Christ. They solidified, cracked, repaired, expanded, contracted throughout, and expanded again throughout time. This history has led us to where we are today as we honor it. Christianity is and has been in a space of transformation. What can be birthed in the telling and retelling of the story of death and new life for this place and time will carry that message forward in new hands, on new paths. We honor what will be. Even as we honor the life and teachings and stories of Jesus Christ, we look to a God known by many names, who weaves existence throughout time and space, gathering us into one. And in the words of U2, I say, we are one, but we are not the same. We got to carry each other. Amen.
Our next presenter is Kathy Rutan Sprague. She is representing Baha'i of Reading. I've asked each one of the presenters today, the three presenters that we have here, to share a bit about their tradition, as well as then offering a ritual.
Hello, thank you for inviting me here. I love the interfaith because they are so warm and friendly and loving. They truly live according to their values, and it's you can't miss it. It's just wonderful. I come to you today representing the Baha'i community of Reading. The Baha'is have been in this town since the 60s probably, but let me back up a little bit and explain to you that the Baha'i faith is a very new religion. It is a global religion, and it is a separate world religion. Our founder was born 205 years ago, and our faith is 178 years old. It was founded by Baha'u'llah in the land that was then Persia, part of the Ottoman Empire. The forerunner to Baha'u'llah was the Bab. His title meant the gate. This country was a Muslim society, and these two were from that tradition as well. The Bab was had a short ministry of 6 years, and ultimately was imprisoned and executed in 1850. During his dispensation, 20,000 of his followers were also tortured and killed. It was the teachings of the Bab that were not very acceptable to the community at that time. It includes the elimination of clergy and the equality of men and women. I would like to share something from the Bab because I am not a member of the clergy. I cannot speak authoritatively on behalf of the Baha'is. I'm only offering you my perspective. So I'd like to offer you some words of the Bab just to give you a flavor of what he said. God hath at all times and under all conditions been wholly independent of his creatures. He hath cherished and will ever cherish the desire that all men may attain his gardens of paradise with utmost love, that no one should sadden another, not even for a moment, and that all should dwell within his cradle of protection and security until the day of resurrection, which marketh the dayspring of the revelation of him whom God will make manifest. The Lord of the universe hath never raised up a prophet, nor hath he sent down a book, unless he hath established his covenant with all men, calling for their acceptance of the next revelation and of the next book, inasmuch as the outpourings of his bounty are ceaseless and without limit. So the Baha'is believe that religion must be a cause of unity. In fact, if religion should become a cause of disunity, it would be better there be no religion. And so for the Interfaith Forum to exist and promote the unity of religion by inviting us to understand each other, to become friends with each other, and to actually love each other, it validates everybody being able to have a religion. At least that's from the Baha'i perspective. The Bab was a prophet in his own right, although his dispensation was short, and his purpose was to direct people to the coming of Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah translates to the light or the glory of God. And so a follower of Baha'u'llah is a follower of the light. And we recognize that that light is the same light in every revelation. And so it used to be said that a follower of the light or a Baha'i is any person who is living the teachings of their manifestation. However, because we are a new religion, in the first years, there was really no administrative order. During the lifetime of the manifestations, it was a different experience, especially since Baha'u'llah was exiled from the land that is now Iran and sent to the western regions of the Ottoman Empire, where he was imprisoned in Akka. The Holy Land for the Baha'is right now is the Mount Carmel, where the shrine of the Bab is, and beautiful gardens exist, as well as the administrative center for the Baha'i community of the world that includes the Universal House of Justice, the Archives Building, a center for the study of the texts, and some beautiful gardens. In respect for the politics of Israel, the Baha'is have agreed never to teach their faith in that country. And so people can come and visit our shrines, but we don't tell them about our faith. They have to leave the country to hear about it. So Baha'u'llah, let me give you a sample of what he said. Here's something of his writings. Beware, O believers, in the unity of God, lest ye be tempted to make any distinction between any of the manifestations of his cause, or to discriminate against the signs that have accompanied and proclaimed their revelation. This indeed is the true meaning of divine unity, if ye be of them that apprehend and believe this truth. Be ye assured, moreover, that the works and acts of each and every one of these manifestations of God, nay, whatever pertaineth unto them, and whatsoever they may manifest in the future, are all ordained by God, and are a reflection of his will and purpose. Whoso maketh the slightest possible difference between their persons, their words, their messages, their acts and manners, hath indeed disbelieved in God, hath repudiated his signs, and betrayed the cause of his messengers. So Baha'is are told that God never leaves any of his people without guidance, and that includes the indigenous people of North and South America. They have had their languages and their cultures, their religious traditions, and their guidance. They relate to our Creator as the Great Father and other titles. This all is in reference to the one God who created all of us. So I'd like to just say, according to my understanding, what is God? What God is the creator of the universe. And the universe we now know is extremely infinite. And the creator of such a universe is even more infinite, to understand degrees of infinity. But who is God? Because we are finite creatures and we cannot ever understand the infinite. We think of God as an unknowable essence, but we can know of him through his creation and through the teachers that he sends to us through love. And we are told that he created us in love, with love, and for love, and that mankind has been born with several drives. One is to know. We always want to learn from the day we're born. We also want to know love and be loved. And we also want to exert our own choices, our own free will. And that is why God would never demand for anyone to belong to any particular religion at all, including this one. It is for us to choose to give our hearts to God. And by that choice, we become more perfect. Our exercise in this world is to develop the qualities that will serve us well in all the worlds of God that go on beyond this life. But part of the exercise is to also improve the life on this planet, because it seems that some of us are not living in following the guidance we've been given. So I can tell you that we don't have very many rituals, but a few of the things we don't do, we don't backbite. We don't get involved in partisan politics. There are no, we try to avoid anything that can divide us. We have several principles that are designed to bring about world unity and world peace. And those include the abolition of all prejudice, the equality of men and women, the working together of both science and religion. That's an interesting one, because until recent years, we didn't really have much for science. And until we had Arabic numbers, thanks to the Muslim revelation, we really couldn't even have had science. We had no idea what was out there beyond the sun. And so science is always discovering things, and religion has been given this by revelation. We do have buildings. As I said, we have the World Center, and there are houses of worship that the Baha'is have put up in different places around the globe. And that is because as a very young religion, without clergy, we haven't always had the writings in other languages. So during the lifetime of our founders was one thing, and upon his passing, when Abdu'l-Baha is the son of Baha'u'llah, became appointed by his father as the center of the covenant. And he was released from prison in 1908 at the change of the government in Palestine. And for the next 10 years, traveled through Europe and the United States, speaking about peace and warning people of the First World War and the coming century ahead of us. So we've been without Abdu'l-Baha now for 100 years. When he passed away in 1921, he appointed the guardian, his grandson, who was a scholar and multilingual. He translated many of the writings, and he created a plan that set the Baha'is out with the goal of having one Baha'i in the country at first, and then ultimately to have Baha'is in every town. And the houses of worship have been built that way as well. So first we got a house of worship on every continent, so 9. Now there were 9, there's 8 houses of worship now. The one in Russia was confiscated some years ago and destroyed. In a house of worship, these are 9-sided structures with unique designs, and only the sacred scriptures from any of the religions are recited in the house of worship. There's no preaching, and the music has to be from the same scriptures and sung a cappella. There are other activities that go on around the house of worship and gardens, but the houses of worship are open to people of all faiths and dedicated to the unity of worship. We are now beginning to build some local houses of worship in the communities where there are a lot of Baha'is. These communities are in places like the Congo, Colombia, Indonesia, and they are now having local houses of worship built there. What the Baha'is are doing is through Planet Education, we are trying to create a world culture that is, it can be built upon your own culture and recognizes and appreciates the diversity, and also brings us to a place of understanding where we can honor and work together towards the progress of the planet. I think that's all I have prepared. Well, yes, I have a closing prayer. There's so many scriptures in the Baha'i writings, it's very hard to choose which one to present. And so Baha'is do actually spend a lot of time studying and trying to understand what we've been given. But here's a prayer by Abdu'l-Baha for humanity. O thou kind Lord, thou hast created all humanity from the same stock. Thou hast decreed that all shall belong to the same household. In thy holy presence, they are all thy servants, and all mankind are sheltered beneath thy tabernacle. All have gathered together at the table of bounty. All are illumined through the light of thy providence. O God, thou art kind to all. Thou hast provided for all, dost shelter all, conferrest life upon all. Thou hast endowed each and all with talents and faculties, and all are submerged in the ocean of thy mercy. O thou kind Lord, unite all. Let the religions agree and make the nations one, so that they may see each other as one family and the whole earth as one home. May they all live together in perfect harmony. O God, raise aloft the banner of the oneness of mankind. O God, establish the most great peace. Cement thou, O God, the hearts together. O thou kind Father God, gladden our hearts through the fragrance of thy love. Brighten our eyes through the light of thy guidance. Delight our ears with the melody of thy word, and shelter us all in the stronghold of thy providence. Thou art the mighty and powerful. Thou art the forgiving, and thou art the one who overlooketh the shortcomings of all mankind. Thank you.
Next, we will have Reverend Helen Cummings. She is with and practitioner of the Reading Zen Priory. And she's going to offer her reflections on the tradition, on interfaith, and then her time will also be closed with practice, sacred practice. So Reverend Helen.
Good afternoon to all of you on Zoom. Good afternoon, and thank you, Lynn, and all of my colleagues. The Interfaith Forum is a wonderful place to spend time, and I'm really grateful that we have such an active community here in Reading. So my name is Reverend Helen Cummings. I am a monastic disciple of Reverend Master G. Kennett and a member of the Order of Buddhist Contemplatives. My home monastery is Shasta Abbey. I am the chief priest at the Reading Zen Buddhist Priory, which is here in Reading to support the practice of lay monastics, lay Buddhists, and to offer the opportunity for those who aren't necessarily part of a Buddhist tradition to come to know a little bit more about our practice of meditation, Soto Zen, and the world of Buddhism, which is rich and varied and offers, I think, a lot to the world at this point in time, a world that's caught up in what the Buddhists traditionally call the three poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion. We know what those are. A little bit about our faith tradition. We're a little bit of an older religion. Gautama Buddha, Shakyamuni, lived some 2,500 years ago. He was in line to become the ruler of a northern Indian country, just in the foothills of the Himalayas. He was protected from anything that was unpleasant by his father, who wanted to keep him in the royal family, in the royal tradition. And so he was in a situation where everything was just fine. Everything worked well. He had everything he wanted. But he was aware that something was missing. And so the tradition goes, he left the palace in order to see what he was missing. And what he saw that he was missing that was so powerful for him was an old man, a sick man, a dead man, and a monk. He'd been protected from seeing the realities of life. But as we all know from our own experience, these foresights inevitably come into our awareness. And his response to those foresights was he didn't immediately go right away to start his search, but he came back with the question of, what am I missing? What is the meaning of suffering? What am I in a position to do to end the suffering that exists in the world? So in order to do that, he left the comfort of the palace. And in a sense, we're all called to do that. We leave our own palaces of safety and security. He left the palace to find the answer to what caused suffering. The tradition says he searched for some 6 years, looked at a range of traditions, Hindu tradition, Jain traditions, a spectrum of teachers who were available to him at that time. But he finally came to be aware that what he was searching for was something that was found in what he came to call the middle way, where he was able to see clearly in the night of his enlightenment experience the truth that suffering exists, that suffering has a cause, that cause in fact is something that can be addressed, and the obvious way of going beyond suffering is to follow the Eightfold Path and to let go of suffering. In a sense, very much like a doctor's prescription. He saw what the problem was, he wrote out a prescription, he invited people to follow that prescription and made it available to everyone. And over the past 2,500 years, that teaching has traveled to Tibet, as you mentioned, to Southeast Asia, to China, to Korea, to Japan. And these days, we are so lucky in the West to have an incredible array of teachers. The basic tradition is the same across the world. There are cultural overlays and differences that do show themselves in different traditions, but basically there are three main traditions in Buddhism. The Vajrayana tradition, the Tibetan tradition. You're probably very much familiar with the Dalai Lama and the monks that follow him, who wear those beautiful maroon and gold robes. The Theravadan tradition is the tradition that you would find in Southeast Asia, or with teachers who are rooted in the Southeast Asian tradition. It's technically the way of the elders, and it's in some ways a more conservative tradition, but again, always looking at the basic answer to the question of suffering and suffering's cause. And then the Mahayana tradition, which is we're part of as a Zen tradition that exists in China, in Korea, and Japan. And of course, my teacher, Reverend G.U. Kennett, was one of the first women to study in Japan in the early 60s. She, at the direction of her teacher, came to the United States to set up and offer the Zen tradition, the Soto Zen tradition that she was part of. Soto Zen is a very, very simple tradition in one sense. In Japan, it's called Farmer Zen because it's said to be so simple that even a farmer can do it. Simple maybe, but it has its challenges. We simply sit and look at what our mind is doing in our course of meditation. We don't try to stop thoughts. We don't try to hold anything at bay. We simply allow ourselves to see what our mind is doing. And in that way, we are able to come to terms with what are traditionally known in Buddhism as the three characteristics: the truth of impermanence. There's nothing that has a permanency to it, though some things may last a long time, nothing lasts forever. The truth of no separate self, that we are not separate, and we get into trouble, we cause our own suffering when we feel ourselves as separate. And then finally, the truth of suffering, that suffering exists in this human realm. We can avoid adding pain to the suffering that we encounter. We may have a medical diagnosis that's problematic. We don't have to add on top of that our fears, our anxieties about it. We can, in fact, change our relationship to our suffering, and that's part of our meditation practice. We train for self and we train for others in the Mahayana tradition. We are looking to offer the world the merit of our meditation practice, loving kindness, compassion. And because everything teaches us, we have the opportunity to be grateful for everything. It is a wonderful opportunity to realize that we're connected with the world at all levels. And as we sit in our meditation, we become more and more aware of where those connections are and how valuable and how much we have to be grateful for through them. Great Master Eihei Dogen, who was our Japanese ancestor who brought the tradition from China to Japan, was emphatic. He said, we have to show gratitude truly in the only real way we can do this in our daily life. Every aspect of our daily life, we should be spending it constantly in selfless activity with no waste of time whatsoever. It's an stunning charge in one sense to go through the day grateful for everything, not just the pleasant, but all that comes our way, because everything that comes our way teaches, and we can be grateful for that. Dogen also says, time flies quicker than an arrow, and life passes with greater transience than dew. He asks the question, however skillful you may be, how can you ever recall a single day of the past? Buddhism says, what are you going to do in this moment? What choice are you going to make that will move in the direction of skillful patience, skillful equanimity, skillful compassion? Actions have consequences, and there's no punishment that exists in the sense in our practice, but simply the result of actions that have some negative consequences to them. If you walk off the top of a 10-story building, you're not being punished when you land on the ground. It's simply the law of gravity at work. Dogen tells us, the life of this one day today is absolutely vital life. Your body is deeply significant. Both your life and your body deserve love and respect, for it is by their agency that truth is practiced, and the seed of all Buddhist activity and of all Buddhahood is the practice of perceptual truth, our daily expression of gratitude. We have the important opportunity to be present in this moment right now, this present moment. This is where we have, with mindful awareness and with a heart that's open, with loving kindness and compassion, to be able to be present in the world and add to the goodness that does exist in the world, even in times of great trouble, like a COVID pandemic or war in Eastern Europe, or all of the crazy and difficult financial things that are happening now. All of these things are part of what Dogen calls the koan of daily life. Daily life offers us the opportunity to practice and to bring compassion to the world. And it's this compassion that is so important. The Dalai Lama at one point was asked what his religion was all about. What was his religion? And his response was, my religion is kindness. There's a lot more I could tell you about Buddhism, but I will echo the Dalai Lama in saying that my religion is kindness, and I can only hope that through all of the opportunities that daily life offers me, that the Interfaith Forum offers me, that there are ways that what Buddhism shows is active kindness in daily life. And the rest from there can be explored at leisure. We can be grateful, we can be kind. So I would just, an answer to the second question of what and why interfaith cooperation and participation is so important. It's because we have the wonderful opportunity again to be grateful for all that we can learn from those around us who are sincerely looking to find a way to goodness and peace. The Buddha himself on his deathbed told his disciples not to believe just because they were told something, just because he had told them something, but rather he said to them, don't believe just because I've told you, prove it true for yourself. The Buddha himself, as I mentioned before, spent, according to the tradition, something like 6 years in training. And the more he found out, the more he was able to bring his awareness to where it needed to be. And I find, and I know I echo many of my monastic colleagues and certainly my lay practitioners in Reading, the value of interfaith cooperation and participation is a means of connecting and appreciating, and in a world seeking greater awareness, to both practice that search ourselves and maybe offer a little bit of light in terms of what Buddhism is all about. We at the Reading Priory welcome all who are interested in exploring and learning about meditation. We offer instruction in Buddhist scriptures, in Buddhist teaching, and in the ways of practicing Buddhism in the world in all its forms in daily life. We have retreats, we have Zoom meetings and such like that. We provide ceremonies, weddings, funerals, and all of the delights of daily life. And we are available to talk and to just be a place of quiet sitting. And we're right in downtown Reading, so it's really a nice place to be able, in the midst of all of the hurriedness around daily life, to find a quiet place. And I hope you'd be in, if you're interested, look for Reading Zen, readingzen@gmail.com. And you're most welcome. Everybody is welcome. Our third question was about a ritual or a prayer to be shared. And I would just like to offer, I think appropriately here, what is traditionally called the metaverse, the wish, the practice for not only those that we love, those that we're looking for a particular outcome for something, but the wish that all beings be the recipients of loving kindness, the wish that all beings be in a place where they are free from suffering. And traditionally, there's a formula that we start with ourselves and go through a listing of those who are in a place where, because everyone is worthy of our gratitude and our wish for goodness, we not only offer merit and loving kindness to those that we love, but we go beyond that limit that we sometimes put on things to include all beings. So with me, if you would, for the next quiet minute or two, allow yourself to sit in a comfortable place and breathe deeply, and from your own heart, you can recite with me. It'll be a formula that you'll hear, and you can, as you like, say it out loud, although with a muted Zoom, of course, please. And with, if you'd like, just say it quietly to yourself. But this is a practice that you can do every day, offering merit, not only to those you love, not only to those you don't love, and in fact are having a difficult time with, but sometimes the hardest person to offer merit to and offer loving kindness to is to ourselves. And so we start off by saying, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free from suffering in all its form. May my family be happy. May my family be peaceful. May my family be free from suffering in all its forms. May my friends be happy. May my friends be peaceful. May my friends be free from suffering. May my teachers be happy. May my teachers be peaceful. May my teachers be free from suffering in all its forms. May all genuine seekers in all faith traditions be happy. May all genuine seekers in all faith traditions be peaceful. May all genuine seekers in all faith traditions be free from suffering in all its forms. May those beings who come and go and whom I take little notice of be peaceful, be happy. May those beings who come and go and I take little notice of, may they be peaceful. May all beings who come and go and whom I take little notice of, may they be free from suffering in all its forms. May all beings who annoy the daylights out of me be happy. May all beings who annoy the daylights out of me be peaceful. May all beings who annoy the daylights out of me be free from suffering in all its forms. May all whom I perceive as enemy be happy. May all whom I see as an enemy be peaceful. May all whom I see as an enemy be free from suffering in all its form. May all creatures in the world, all beings, without exception, be happy. May all beings in the world, without exception, be peaceful. May all beings in all the world, without exception, be free from suffering in all its forms. I wish you goodness and kindness in your day, and may we offer the merit of our time together to all beings, known and unknown, in need of merit. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha.
Thank you, Reverend Helen. We're going to, we had previously had intended for Amarjeet Singh from the Sikh Center to be with us and present from the Sikh tradition. However, this afternoon, he had COVID exposure. So he is not joining us. So I'm going to speak a little bit to the Native American way and tradition. And then at the end, I think we'll have a few minutes for questions. If anybody, I would like you to think about which particular person you'd like to talk with, to ask a question. And before I begin the Native American presentation, let me also share with you one little bit of information I forgot to share from or about the Shasta Interfaith. When it began in about 1993, Reverend Heather Hennessy moved to the North State. She was the new pastor at First Christian Church, Disciples of Christ. And she called the association that was here of Christian tradition, various Christian traditions, and wanted to find out when their meetings were monthly. And because she was a woman minister and the group was ultra conservative, she was told that she could not assemble. She was not invited. However, there were much more progressive Christians in the community that included Bill Stagel of First United Methodist Church, Bob Grosh, who was a deacon with St. James Lutheran Church, Father Lester Wesleyan from All Saints Church, and they started gathering monthly to have lunch. And at some point, they decided it would be a good idea to invite some more people. So today, the 23 faith communities and all the associates and volunteers have come from that legacy. And we continue to expand into Weaverville and Trinity County, Mount Shasta area of Siskiyou County in Northern California. I'm going to invite you, as I'm talking about the Native American way, the Native American tradition, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable. And again, take another long, slow, deep breath in. And relaxing as we exhale. I invite us to contemplate the wisdom, the consciousness of Chief Seattle. He passed in 1886. Seattle, Washington is named after him. And to me, he points to the relational quality and spirituality of the Native American traditions. He said, all things share the same breath. Notice he says, all things share the same breath. The beast, the tree, the man, the air shares its spirit with all the life it supports. Powerful words. In the culture, even though today there are many epidemics such as alcoholism, diabetes, violence, those are the resultant adaptation to trauma, practice genocide by the US government and many of our state governments. But despite that, the culture, we are in the season of what's called the sacred seventh generation, when there is an upsurge for the members of the different communities to learn the traditions, to learn to speak the language, to learn and make their own regalia, the ceremonial garb, to resound the truth, you might say, of that relationship in support of all life, that connection to all life. And I think especially today, given our issues around climate change, understanding that we all have a relationship to Mother Earth, what most Native people refer to as Grandmother Earth, and a need for healing and reverence and understanding that we are all part of that is essential. There are 10 wisdoms that are shared universally in the culture. I'm going to share those with you and then comment on a few of them. The earth is our mother. Care for her. Another way I might say that is the earth is our grandmother. Care for her. Honor all relations, all people. Open our hearts and soul to the Great Spirit. All life is sacred. Treat all beings with respect. Take from the earth what is needed and nothing more. Do what needs to be done for the good of all. Give constant thanks to the Great Spirit for each new day. Speak the truth, but only of good in others. Follow the rhythms of nature. Rise and retire with the sun. Enjoy life's journey, but leave no tracks. You can see from those 10 wisdoms that we are in relationship with all that is, that we're all part of each other, no matter where we are in creation. We also recognize that our ancestors are part of us today, are here in this gathering today. It is from them that we come into the world and travel in this lifetime as they move with us, and that we are the ancestor to future generations. It is very important that we live a life of attunement to the Great Spirit, seeking Spirit's guidance, allowing it to teach us, to guide us, to comfort us, to allow us to have respect and reverence for all people, all beings. It is critical. With such respect, we cannot help but be mindful of the issues surrounding climate change. We want to reduce our carbon footprint. We want to realize that when I encroach upon nature, I'm encroaching upon myself. When I feel lack of respect, I'm disrespecting myself. So we want to think of ways that we as individuals can show reverence and respect for Grandmother Earth and Grandfather Sky, for all of creation. Yes, recycling, but perhaps even more importantly is a consciousness in which we live, move, and have our being in the world. You heard the presenters today talk about kindness, talk about inclusivity of all. They shared how each of us has value. Each of us has significance, which I would describe as the native way. When I close my comments around the Native American tradition, I'm going to offer a prayer and blessing. And then we can move to some questions before our time is up. And so the challenge I would like to leave us with in consideration of Native American tradition is to ask ourselves, what is it I can do in my personal prayer life, in my personal journey, when I see the ails of climate change, which can be expressed also through not only the rise of the ocean, the drought, the wildfires, the floods, the melting of the polar ice cap. I would also suggest even homelessness or those without shelter, all as part of our woes of our current society and climate issues. I encourage each of us to make a commitment that we, whatever speaks to us that is heavy on our heart and soul, that we continue to offer up prayer and the knowing that Spirit, God, the sacred, whatever expression we have, can produce healing and wholeness and health in our society as well as within each of us, and to hold up that prayer and light until we see change ushered forth. So I'm going to close this Native American segment here with a prayer. Invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes. Grandfather Sky, Grandmother Earth, to all the two-legged and four-legged, to the winged creatures, the rocks and minerals, to the insects, all the plant life, the life that fills our waterways, and the life-giving energy of water itself, and to our ancestors and our teachers, we offer this prayer and blessing from this room at the Center of Spiritual Living in Redding, California, from Shasta Interfaith in its many diverse expressions. We offer a prayer and blessing for healing for all people, the end of suffering, to where there is fear, love, to where there is suffering, relief and healing, to where there is limitation, an opening to new freedoms, that all that we encounter in this journey as sacred human is designed for our growth and healing, that we may develop an intimate relationship, not only with the sacred, but to see all beings and all that it is as sacred. I invite Spirit into my life, into my thoughts, into my actions, into everything that is of me, that I may be a light to the world, that I may produce wholeness in myself by means of Spirit. And where there is lack of faith, lack of connection to the sacred, Spirit, by means of love, opens the gateway to new relationship. I give thanks for each individual that has participated today, each community, each being. We are all in relationship to one another. So I give thanks. And we send this prayer and blessing from this space here in Redding, California, across our community here, across Shasta County, Northern California, across California as a great state, our nation, the one ocean, across the globe, to all those in life and being at this moment in time, to all the generations past, the generations coming, and across our cosmos, all the universes through all time. We give thanks, sending this forth. A hope. So the prayer is closed with a hope. So I'm going to ask that if anyone has a question or comment, to raise a hand. I would like to see if there's chat down here. Let me see if there's any questions in there. There's a comment. Thank you for the Baha'i offering. Thank you to Reverend Helen for your insightful offering. If you have a question, either raise your hand through chat or raise your hand if I have you on screen. Anyone? No questions? No comments? Oh, yeah.
Come.
Deborah, is it? Which one?
Just
Here
a
you
comment.
are.
Just a comment. I don't really have a question, but I would like to express my appreciation for what you're doing, what you're working on in Reading, because I feel so much value from each one's presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry I came on late, so I don't even know your name, but
I am Reverend Lynn Fritz.
oh, very nice to meet you.
And
my
I'm
name
with-
is not Nasa, that's my husband's name, but we share the same computer, so we
Zoom.
always have that on there. Yeah.
So can you tell me your name again?
My name is Uli.
Very good to meet you.
Yeah. Also, a suggestion: if you and also the other presenters could put their contact information in the chat, that would be great.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it? I will do that before we leave. And any other comments?
Yeah, while you're typing,
What
I'll
was that,
just-
Deborah?
ooh,
You're really loud, Deborah.
there's an echo.
Echo. Yes, I hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Good. You're coming in nice and clear.
I don't know that it's my computer, but I'll speak more softly. The prayers were beautiful.
The best part, huh?
Oh yeah. I've been blessed to have studied with several different Native American teachers. So it always calls me home. And then listening to Reverend Helen just put me in a trance. That tapped into a whole nother part of me. That was just amazing. And the prayer, I remember doing the prayer to release suffering before I found it one day. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm especially excited because I just moved up to the Ashland area from San
Oh.
Diego.
Yeah, neighbor.
A member of Point from San Diego that just drove past Mount Shasta and plopped herself in Southern Oregon. So you can stretch your interfaith from Reading up to Ashland.
Absolutely. We like that.
Okay. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for being here today. Wouldn't have been the same without you. Any other comments or questions?
Oh, I'd just like to say thank you again. When I first started putting this together, I was trying to find out where the different interfaith groups were. I had a huge number in California, but I really didn't know them. And Lynn, you are wonderful in putting these people together and presenting the incredible amount of work that's going on in Shasta,
It's
in
pretty,
the whole area.
it's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah,
And especially since, we had so many other things going on that are very challenging.
yeah.
Interfaith work to me is much more important.
Well, it's when I contacted people in New York and Chicago and Atlanta and whatever, you would think there would be, large groups. But I think your group in Shasta is larger than many of those in the big cities.
Yes, yes.
And the work that you guys did putting your presentation together tonight, you can tell that heart and soul and hours typing and writing was was spent. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
That's awesome. I'm inviting my sisters here to come over and sit. with me.
Yeah, I saw those notes.
You have to kind of sit in here so that you come into focus.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, let me see. Come shoulder in. Yeah, there you go. There we are.
Oh my gosh, may I take a picture?
There you go. Come on, Megan, get in there.
Trying my best.
There,
we go.
almost. Come on in, Kathy.
Beautiful.
There we are. Come in even more, Kathy.
Let me see if I can do a
Kathy.
screenshot. Okay, one more and I can send this to Steve if I can do this correctly.
Closer, closer.
Oh, sir. It's in the back.
That's okay. We like you on Lynn's lap.
There you
Come on
go.
in, Helen. In Lean. There you go.
I think I got it.
Yay.
Yeah. It's cute.
Yes, yes.
You know, in Buddhism, there's something called the four divine sisters who
Oh.
actually take care of the world. So here we are.
Here we are.
Here, I thought it was a mountain.
I'm also wondering if any of you have participated in the Parliament of World Religions. Yes, yes. And
4 times.
so I've been in 2015 at Salt Lake, 2018 in Toronto. I'm registered for Chicago in August of 2023, which will be the 100th anniversary. Parliament of World Religions began in 1893 in Chicago, and it's been in various places throughout the world. It is the ultimate interfaith experience.
Yeah, we had them presenting yesterday morning, and you would have loved Melbourne, Australia.
Yes, I think so.
Ah,
Yes.
just-
What I enjoyed about Salt Lake was that we went into Mormon Tabernacle and had 2.5 hours of interfaith worship from all different traditions. It was extraordinary. To me, that was the highlight of the conference. It was amazing. I loved it. Well, I can see it's 5:54. Do we have any wrap-up stuff, Steve, to do?
No, I think it's more of thank you, and we'll see you next year.
Yes, we intend to be there, don't we?
And hopefully we'll see you before that.
Absolutely. Thank you, one and all.
Blessings.
Blessings.